Hi there, my name is Caitlin Bandy and this is my channel BandysBooks, and today we are going to be reviewing the book Hangman by Maya Binyam. This is a book that published August 8th, 2023 by Farrar, Straus and Giroux. This is a debut novel in the literary fiction genre, and it was recently longlisted for the 2024 Women's Prize. If you've been watching my channel over the last couple weeks, you may have heard me mention that one of my goals for 2024 was to delve a little bit deeper into some of the literary awards throughout the year. I've been on BookTube for about 3 years now, and I've really enjoyed how different channels handle these different awards, reading all the books on the long list, predicting what books might win. It's just an awful lot of fun, and I wanted to challenge myself a little bit and read a couple long lists this year. Oftentimes, these literary awards nominate books that are not even on my radar, books that I've never heard of, new to me authors, and I think this will be a great opportunity to broaden my horizons in terms of reading. And that's one of the reasons I decided to start my Women's Prize reviews with Hangman by Maya Binyam. Since it's a debut novel, there are no pre-existing expectations set by Binyam's previous work. Going into this with a blank slate, this is an author I'm unfamiliar with. I haven't heard really any reviews of this book. I think the only one I can think of was a DNF, so it wasn't even a review of the complete book. I also think that this is a book that I might find particularly relatable because my partner Oz is Cuban, but he grew up in the country of Angola, which is on the southern half of the African continent. And he is actually literally, as you watch this video, over in Angola visiting his family in country for the first time in 10 years. And so when I read what this book was about, I was like, oh my goodness, so much of this is similar to what my partner has related to me about his own experiences traveling home and being an immigrant. And because of that, I decided I wanted to read this novel first. So let's go ahead and dive in. The summary of this novel is as follows. A man returns home to sub-Saharan Africa after 26 years in America. When he arrives, he finds that he doesn't recognize the country or anyone in it. Thankfully, someone recognizes him, a man who calls him brother, setting him on a quest to find his real brother, who is dying. So in my research of this novel, I found out that the author is Ethiopian American and that her father was a political refugee from Ethiopia. While Binyam avoids naming a specific country or even implying the identity of said country in her novel, I really appreciated the way that she used bits and pieces of her own family story to create this novel, but she did it in a way where it's not immediately obvious. And while I found the vagueness of the location to be a bit disconcerting at first, I do think that it prevents the reader from associating any specific cultural identity with the main character. And it creates a experience that could possibly be relatable to people of many different backgrounds. Binyam takes this a step further by making the main character very anonymous as well. We never get his name. We never get much of a physical description. We don't really get like deep emotional thoughts. We get observations, and most of those are very stark and detached. I think that this was done this way to allow the reader to really step into the main character's shoes without anchoring him to a specific type of personality, giving him identifying details. It makes him vague enough that we can all sort of imagine ourselves in his place. That said, I did find that sometimes the lack of knowing the main character created a sense of emotional detachment. And at times that made it a little bit hard to relate to the main character. There were moments in the story where I felt like I should have empathy for him, but I found the empathy lacking because I had no specific attachment to him. The thing that this book does exceptionally well is that it makes the reader feel alienated, confused, and isolated. I think that those feelings perfectly mirror what our main character is experiencing as he realizes that he no longer recognizes his home country. He's lost and confused, and so are you. The mishaps and chaos that follow the main character make his journey an uncomfortable one, just as reading this book often feels uncomfortable as well. This novel also does an excellent job of conveying the impossibility of being stuck between two worlds. The character occasionally muses about the racism that he faces in the United States, which gives the impression that life there hasn't been easy for him. But as he wanders his own birth country, we see moments that also reflect that he is no longer quite from there either. There's a moment in the book where he's charged tourist fees at a local church, and when he argues with the guard that he's from there, the guard points at his American passport as if he no longer belongs to this world. He's essentially too African to be American, but too American to be African. This is a sentiment that I've had related to me multiple occasions by my partner and friends who are either immigrants or first-generation Americans. So I feel like this book really nails that experience. The writing style of this book is a juxtaposition between really clear imagery and stark description. I could always visualize what was going on in an individual scene, but the book isn't particularly flowery in its prose. I think that the starkness is intentional, and it kind of adds the alienation that we're feeling alongside this character. My biggest critique of this book is that it's not an easy read. It's described as a comedic tragedy, but I feel like that description is inadequate and sets the wrong expectation for this book. While there are occasionally funny lines in this story, it's definitely not laugh out loud funny. And while there are somewhat sad moments in this book, it's also not heartbreaking like I would think a tragedy should be. It sort of exists in this literary gray area between the two. It's a book that's hard to pin down, and with the starkness of the prose, the confusion and the chaos, and the emotional detachment that this book forces you to feel, this book can come across like a bit of a slog, especially in the first half. As the book nears its conclusion, I think Binyam's brilliance really starts to shine. The best of this novel is how it's all wrapped up, because it makes everything that you've gone through start to make sense. And I think it's the ending that makes you start to understand why this book has been longlisted for the Women's Prize. Overall, this book is neither the most commercial nor the most approachable. It is isolating and confusing, but for a persistent reader, it could be a meaningful experience. That said, I worry that a lot of readers will get 25% of the way into this book, get frustrated with the writing, and end up putting the book down before they get to the parts that really make this book mean something. If you're thinking about picking up this book, go into it knowing that it isn't the easiest read and that you may have to get through some difficult sections before you get to the payoff. But it is short in page count, so I think it's worth the risk of getting to the end to see if the reward is there. So that's the end of this review. I hope that you found it interesting. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up, comment down below, and let me know if you're reading any of the books for the Women's Prize. Have you read this specific book? What were your thoughts on it? Or if you've read any of the other books, let me know how you're feeling. I want to hear all things Women's Prize. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button down below, as well as the notification bell so that you never miss a video. And that way we can see each other again soon. Thanks so much for joining. Bye.